Okay, it's 6 o'clock, and we will call the annual joint meeting of the McKinleyville Community Service District Board of Directors and the McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee meeting to order. Mason, would you please call the roll?
Lisa Dugan is absent. Mary Burke. Here. Maya Conrad.
Is your mic on? I can't hear you.
All right, Maya's here. Kevin Jenkins.
Here.
Patrick Kaspari. Here. Bonnie Oliver. Here. Greg Orsini.
Here.
And Twyla Sanchez.
Here.
And Director Binder.
Here.
James Beitman. David Couch.
Here.
Dennis Mayo.
Present.
And Greg Orsini again.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Kevin, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Which Kevin?
That Kevin.
I got one more tried to say that. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. And A3 is approval of the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
You have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mason, please call the roll.
Mary Burke. Maya Conrad.
Oh,
Sorry.
aye. Yes.
Everybody else? Kevin Jenkins.
yes.
Pat Kaspari. Yes. Bonnie Oliver.
Yes.
Greg Orsini.
Yes.
Twyla Sanchez. Oh. Maya Conrad.
Yes.
Scott Binder.
Yes.
James Beitman. David Couch.
Yes.
Dennis Mayo.
Yes.
Greg Orsini.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item B, public comment and written communications. Any person may address the board at this time upon any subject not identified in this agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the McKinleyville Community Services District. However, any matter that requires action will be referred to staff for a report of action at a subsequent committee or board meeting. As to matters on the agenda, an opportunity will be given to address the board when the matter is considered. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Letters should be used for complex issues. Is there any member of the public that would like to address the board for public comment? Any members on Zoom? Not seeing any. We will move along. Okay, C, continued new business. The first item here is C1, to adopt the proclamation and appreciation of Kevin Dreyer. Yes. Dennis?
If there's anybody on Zoom and I can't see, could you identify who's on Zoom, please?
Okay, Jack Durham is on Zoom, and there's someone named Jesse on Zoom. Okay.
From the chamber, probably.
Well, likely. Okay, adopt a proclamation and appreciation of Kevin Dreyer for his 12 years of service to the community of McKinleyville as a member of the McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee. And this item will be presented by Kevin Jenkins. If you wish. Okay.
Kevin. Go up there.
But not the last.
So, Kevin, you have been involved in the MMAC since the very beginning. You've contributed so much to our community in so many ways. It's countless. The issues that you've helped resolve, the planning that you've helped develop, and the guidance that you've given us all is immeasurable. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. So we have a proclamation that I'm going to show you. Unfortunately, Lisa could not be here. She had a family emergency, so we will get her ink on this. and we'll get it framed, and I'll get it back to you. But you get to look at it right now. You can even touch it a little bit. But
I forgot my glasses.
that's okay. There you go.
Well, Kevin could read it to you.
You want me to read the whole proclamation?
Sure.
Yeah.
Come on.
For his 12 years of service to the community of McKinleyville, as a member of the McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee, whereas Kevin Dreyer was one of the original Humboldt County Board of Supervisors appointees to the McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee, MMAC, when it was first organized in 2012. And whereas over the past 12 years, he has served at times as chair, as a reliable and valuable member of the MMAC, and whereas he applied his wisdom as a property owner and business owner in McKinleyville, as well as his heart for building community throughout his tenure, and whereas he has been an invaluable resource of institutional knowledge, thanks to his long years of service on the MMAC, and whereas alongside fellow MMAC members, worked tirelessly, putting in many long hours during the years that MMAC has worked on the Draft Town Center ordinance to create a more vibrant community, and whereas the MMAC and the McKinleyville Community Services District stand together to bring a united voice to the county issues affecting the community of McKinleyville. Now, therefore, we, Scott Bender, President of the MCSD Board of Directors, and Lisa Dugan, Chair of the MMAC, do hereby recognize and proclaim appreciation for Kevin Dreyer for his 12 years of service to the community of McKinleyville and as a member of the McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee. This date, 23rd day of October, 2024.
Wow.
This is just a little personal card from us and some hot chocolate because it's going to get cold. Dick Taylor.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'd just like to say it's been a pleasure working with all of you and those that I've worked with before you came and have since gone. I feel like 12 years has been a good run. I've done some things in my life for longer, but this is one of the longer things, and I appreciate the acknowledgement for the dedication to this committee. It won't be the last time you see me. I'll be in the cheap seats over here and on Zoom, and if you'd ever like any paid consultation, I'd be happy to accept the same wages I've been getting all this time. What more can I say? It's just been really good. I appreciate the way we all work together, listen to each other, keep open minds, debate things, formally, but also, informally. We invite the public just from the seats. We chat among ourselves. We aren't super formal all the time, which is really nice. And it seems like we get things done that way. So thanks again. I appreciate it. And it's not goodbye. Take care.
Thanks.
So, yeah, Kevin said it all there. He really exemplifies public service in a great way. 12 years, my goodness, right? Helped transition through many different boards. And in honor of that, our board put together this certificate of appreciation for you, Kevin. And we just want to thank you so much for all your help with everything.
Wow, that's really nice. Thank you.
You bet. All right.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
And I appreciate the support from the board.
Oh, yeah.
Over the years,
Well,
and their faithfulness to
We can't run this city
conduct
or
this business.
community. Yeah. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks. Does our board or the committee have any comments? Would they like to speak to this? Raise your hand, be recognized. Dennis?
I'll start off. First of all, Kevin, good job, brother. We've known each other a long time, and although we butted heads a few times at the coffee shop over things, I really respect you and the work you've done. And at every opportunity, it's important to say that this collaboration is important, but the entity that is the MMAC would not exist if it hadn't have been for the vision of McKinleyville Community Services District. And Director Orsini and Director Couch, Dr. Bill, who's not with us, God bless him, and I was a part of this as well, and John Corbett especially. John and I and Greg and the rest of the board had a vision for this, and without John Corbett's immense knowledge, legal and structure of how groups work and agencies, we wouldn't have had this developed in a way that was so important. And it's always important for me to acknowledge Supervisor Sundberg. This would not exist without Supervisor Sundberg. We went through a couple supervisors that were okay with us, but didn't make it happen. And Supervisor Sundberg made it happen. So it's just, again, it's just always important for me to put the structure and the history together. And then all of y'all made it work. So thank you all. Kevin, again, God bless you, my friend.
Thanks. Kevin, thank you for your service. One of the things that makes the MMAC function so well is we hear all the time about bipartisan, but the nonpartisan part of the MMAC has been very important. And Kevin, you've always been on the lead on that, and I want to thank you very much for that. You probably don't realize how much of the culture of the MMAC that you had to do with, and for that I would very much like to thank you for that. The MMAC functions on a pretty amazing level with how polarizing subjects can be in this day and age, and we just don't see that at the MMAC. So thank you very much for your leadership on that.
Anyone else?
Kevin, I'd just like to acknowledge your knowledge as a Realtor and how deep a dive and how much you would pay attention to planning and building law and ordinance language. And so you really brought that expertise to the MMAC. So thank you for all your years of service. Really appreciated working with you.
Twyla?
Kevin, I just want to thank you for your service, and I remember coming and sitting in the seats, and I was always thankful because you were asking the questions that I would have liked to have asked, and you were always getting clarification on different items, and so I just want to thank you for that. A lot of times, even setting up here, I was kind of, unclear, and you would always get clarifications, and you have a great memory of the town center and what was discussed earlier, and you're going to be missed. Thank you.
Sometimes it's important to ask a question and you know the answer so that everybody else hears it.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Mary?
Well, Kevin, I had the chance to serve with you on the MMAC previously, and now I get to succeed you in this seat. And so we'll carry on the fun, and I just want to speak to, echo what you said about the way this committee works together. And it's been fun to work with you, and I plan to carry on as much as I can that really good-natured, ability to come to agreement. So, been great to get to know you, and thanks for letting go of the seat and giving me a chance to be here.
I'm really pleased to see you.
Anyone else? Are there any comments from staff? Members of the public, including on Zoom? Okay, seeing none. Thank you for your service. Yeah, it's a long time doing that, 12 years. That's something. Okay, moving along to item C2. At this time, I assume that everyone here has an agenda. You'll notice that there's some time frames set on these items that I hope that we respect in terms of making the meeting flow and not going all night. I don't wish to disenfranchise anyone of their right to speak. However, do keep an eye on the time. Okay, item C2 is a discussion of the Town Center Ordinance. The draft Town Center Ordinance has been approved by the McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee. The next step in the process is the preparation of an environmental impact report on the ordinance. The county is in the process of completing the EIR, which has included a traffic study. Humboldt County Planning and Building Director John Ford is joining us this evening to provide an update on this ongoing process. Staff recommends that the boards review the information provided, discuss, take public comment, and participate in the presentation. At this time, I'd like to turn the mic over to Director Ford.
Thank you, Chair Bender. It's a pleasure to be with you all this evening. So as you mentioned in the intro, the McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee, sorry about that, has been working on this town center for 3 years now, I want to say. Maybe 4. Part of the struggle was we ran into a little thing called COVID, and that slowed us down a little bit. But I do want to echo some of the comments that have been made about the ability of the MMAC to really work together and to do it in a collegial manner, because there were many points of great discussion associated with developing the draft of the Town Center Ordinance. And just not to belabor this too much, the town center concept goes back to the adoption of the community plan in 2001. And so now we're finally at a place where we are bringing this forward. And what it's intended to be is really the center of the community, where people can come and meet and greet, run into each other by accident and on purpose. A place where people can get there and conveniently walk around, conveniently bike around, to connect the community together. Part of that involves the fact that the town center goes basically from the fence line over there all the way out to McKinleyville Avenue, and from Railroad on the north all the way down to Hartwood. And it's got this big impediment right in the middle of allowing it to really be a cohesive place, which is called Central Avenue. And so part of the struggle that the MMAC dealt with was, what do we do about Central? What do we do about a place that is a high volume road, perhaps the highest volume road in all of Humboldt County, and make it a place that is safe and accessible and comfortable for pedestrians to come to shop at, to do retail at, to do business at, and also to cross, both as a pedestrian and a bicyclist. So the basic design of the town center calls for Central to be redesigned slightly. The current proposal is for it to be 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction, maintain the center turn lane, and then to widen out the bicycle area and the area for pedestrians along the sidewalks. That's being evaluated in EIR. I'll get into that more in a minute, but one of the other significant components of the town center is to have basically a pedestrian promenade, I will call it, that goes all the way from McKinleyville Avenue on the west, up here and into the park, and to go across Central. And that could be really, hopefully will be the center point of the east-west corridor through the middle of the town center that provides a place for people to walk and meet and greet, small pocket parks along the way, and places for people to meet each other. The uses are mixed use. Part of the objective is to create a place where there is a good opportunity for retail, for restaurants, for meetings. And then what adds to that is the residential uses that are there. It calls for buildings that are between 3 and 4 stories tall. And so it is really a center. The western 14 acres are identified as an area of open space that is to be used to preserve and also replace wetlands that may be impacted by development on the rest of the town center. And so that's going to be set aside and is intended to be managed by somebody other than a property owner. It could be a property owner, but maybe better a land trust or something like that to keep that in trust for the public in the long term. The work on Central was somewhat controversial because many of us like to drive up and down Central Avenue, like the functionality of 4 lanes, 2 lanes in each direction with the center turn lane, and are concerned that any reduction to that would impede the ability to circulate within the community. And so one of the things the MCMAC asked for was, as part of the EIR, to evaluate what would be the operational impacts to the road network within McKinleyville if that road was reconfigured. And some of the things that were looked at were putting in roundabouts. I've never really had a traffic engineer tell me this before, but they said, if you put roundabouts there, you will really mess traffic up. It's like, okay, we won't do that. We'd talked about putting parking on the street, and the traffic engineers were like, if you do that, you'll really mess traffic up. And so it's like, okay, we won't do that. And basically what we've got is an alternative now that shows 1 lane in each direction, no parking on the street, but with expanded bike lanes, expanded pedestrian access space, and the gravel path, I'm sure will remain. And what that really allows the road to do is function at a very similar level that it does now, and provides those additional amenities. So the interesting thing is, and maybe this is a little too geekish for this group, but it's important to consider, is that under the California Environmental Quality Act, operational impacts to the road network aren't an environmental impact anymore. It's now measured in vehicle miles traveled. And one of the interesting things about the town center is that it's vehicle miles reducing by its very nature, i.e. it's got people living and working and shopping right in that same area. So it doesn't generate a lot of vehicle miles traveled in and of itself. So from a CEQA standpoint, the town center is pretty innocuous. From an operational standpoint, there are some improvements that will need to be made to some of the intersections in the area to facilitate traffic flow. One of the important connections is going from McKinleyville Avenue out to School Road. That will greatly facilitate a lot of traffic. Instead of trying to channel it all through Central Avenue, it'll allow an offlet there. And then we'll probably see a traffic signal over on Murray and McKinleyville. And there may be roundabouts on Hiller and McKinleyville, and perhaps Row Road and McKinleyville. I'm not sure if there's room there for that. But there are some improvements that over time would need to be put in place to facilitate that. So we're in the process of preparing the environmental impact report right now. The impact report will address the environmental issues and have a separate discussion of the operational impacts to the road network. The administrative draft is now 2 days overdue. I'm kind of waiting for it. I'm promised it'll be given on a day ending in a Y. Sorry, that's a bad joke. But we plan to spend about 3 weeks reviewing it and getting comments back to the consultant, and then we're getting into the time of year where if we push it too hard, then we put the public review period out over the holidays, which always results in people complaining that we've tried to put it in a period of time when people don't have an adequate time to review it. So we'll probably put it on the street shortly after the first of the year. And that'll go for 45 days. We'll turn and look at the comments, turn those around, evaluate those, prepare the final EIR. That would be sometime probably end of March, April. And then we'll be coming back to the MCMAC with any proposed changes to the town center ordinance, and also with the final EIR for their review and recommendation before we head into the hearings at the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. That was an extremely fast Reader's Digest version of everything. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. I'll turn it over to the board and the committees. Director, or General Manager Gaspari.
I am. So John, you said that Central Avenue, the alternative you were looking at was a lane in each direction and bike pedestrian on the sides. Does that include a center turn lane as well?
Yes.
Just asking if it's got a center turn lane in Central Avenue, and his answer was yes. And Chair Bender had one other question, if you don't mind. During the 45-day public review period, are you planning on taking it back to the MCMAC to have a presentation there or not?
Part of the struggle with having a public discussion during the 45-day review period is that the comments that get made get murky about whether or not they're comments on the EIR or not. And then you've got to respond to those. And that gets difficult sometimes because if you don't understand what people are trying to ask, you don't necessarily have time to clarify it. And so they can say, that's not what I meant by that. So from a preservation standpoint, I tend to not have public discussions during the public review phase. We can before the EIR public review periods to introduce it and explain it, but I'd prefer not to try to respond to comments that are made in a public meeting.
Thank you, Chairman Bender. So with the proposed two-lane, turn lane, is there allowances being made in that for the bus turnouts?
Yeah, well,
I know we're looking to increase bus service.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So one of the things we wrote into the town center is that there would be a high-quality bus really stop, not just a turnout, but something that could be multimodal, multi-bus type within the town center, so that express buses that are going to the university, going to the peninsula, going into Eureka, could stop there. There could be other forms of transportation that are there, could be park and ride, could be smaller local sprint buses that take people around McKinleyville. And so the idea would be to have something there that is more than just on the route someplace. It is really a destination.
A complete off-road,
Yeah.
off of Central Avenue.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Director Ford, I would really appreciate if you did bring the draft EIR to MCMAC before the public comment period, so we do have a little more time to digest it, maybe before the end of the year. And then my other question is the treatment of Hiller Road being included in the EIR?
Yes, the treatment of Hiller is being included in the EIR. Yep.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I haven't got any acknowledgement for the photos that I've sent on this. I don't know whether that's my position as a complete Luddite when it comes to tech, maybe. But I sent several photos over a period of time of MCSD's continuing work that needs to be done on Central Avenue, and how our machinery and the machinery that we subcontract blocks almost all of Central Avenue while we're working. I'm very concerned about a reduction in lanes. And this is my board position, not my personal position, which is more than that. And so that's a big concern. And I'm wondering then, could you tell me South Point to North Point on Central Avenue, what you're talking about in these lane reductions?
Basically from Hartwood to Pickett.
Hartwood to Pickett, okay. That's a little less impacting, but so that's an issue that I haven't, well, of course, I haven't seen the draft either, so I don't know exactly what you're going to say. I'm very glad to hear that you shit-canned the roundabouts, because as any of us that have been into big cities, like in Portland as an example, in a major intersection like the shopping center, pedestrians can't get across those roundabouts, so that's a good thing. So I will try to get those photos again, but I'm hearing that that's probably too late for the EIR?
No, it's something we can certainly look at and consider. And I apologize if you sent those to me. I don't recall that. I don't recall seeing.
And I apologize to John. I don't know. I thought I sent them to who was directed here to send to.
Yeah,
I don't think you personally.
So, yeah, we absolutely want to be able to address that and look at how to make sure that traffic can safely function, even when there is maintenance improvements going on to the utility infrastructure within the community.
Right. And as far as the Hiller and that, from what I've heard, I think that makes perfect sense and is probably an enhancement to everything, and I appreciate that. I know, and everybody here knows, if you're not at the table, you're on the table. And so many people in McKinleyville don't support this at all. And yet they're not speaking up. A lot of them are telling me, and I'm kind of the spokesman for some. But I'm really not sure that this concept is that well vetted through the actual population in McKinleyville. Nonetheless, as I said, if you don't participate, well, that's the way it goes. But it is a major issue. And for me, the way I've sorted that out is mostly with what I said before about MCSD's necessity to be in those lanes. And so if these lanes are reduced and we're there, how is that going to function? And so anyway, but thank you, John.
Yeah, it's a fair question, and no disrespect here intended. I understand completely what you're saying with portions of the community not being represented. Part of the frustration as a professional planner is that we often go to great lengths to try to get people to come. We even offer food to try to get people to come. And if they won't come and they won't participate, we have to read that as their assent to whatever happens there.
The environmental community gives beer. That's how they get, you might consider beer. Sorry. But I understand, John. Thank you for that.
Go ahead, Greg.
Thank you. Yeah, while I sympathize with Director Mayo's feeling about the fact that there are a lot of people myself too have had a lot of input from the community related to their displeasure with any changes on Central Avenue. They haven't made those feelings known during the public process. And so I know that that's going to have ramifications down the road when these projects are finally proposed, and that's probably when they'll start voicing up, which will make it difficult in the future. But my main question for you, Director Ford, is related to the administrative draft of the EIR. If you brought the administrative draft of the EIR to the MCMAC, it would become a public document, correct?
That is correct.
And then if that's the case, it kind of circumvents the process of having an administrative draft for staff to be able to review without the public having access to it.
Well, I think maybe the best way to phrase that is that it gets confusing for the public. And because if you see something that is not captured in the way the county would want it captured and explained in a way that is true to how the county is going to understand that to need to be explained, and people start reacting to that, then that sends people down the wrong path.
Right, that's why I use the word counterproductive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example of that. The county was recently sued. We ultimately prevailed, but sued on an environmental document that was prepared. And the accusation of the plaintiff, if you will, was that an administrative draft of the environmental document, we still don't know how they got a hold of it, but said something. We fixed that, we changed it, but that went all the way to the judge, that this is what the county's doing. And it's like, that's was never the case. And so that, it is counterproductive.
Right, and I think, and that's the issue there, is that our resources, we don't need to have resources put forth in fighting things that aren't really going to be in the final EIR.
Well said.
Thank you.
Could I say one thing in response to your first comment?
Sure.
So I want to make it clear that the MCMAC has not made a final decision on the content of the town center ordinance or what's happening with Central Avenue. If people really are concerned about that, there will be public meetings, there will be the opportunity to come and have a robust dialogue about that. And so it should not be considered, oh, they're going to do what they're going to do. Because frankly, the public needs to be heard from. And if they're opposed to it, they should come and express that. If they support it, they should come and express that. And I don't want to have a civil war within McKinleyville, but that's what the public process is all about.
Yes, Dennis?
Yeah, John, one more thing is that that's generally the way it works. The majority of people that don't live close here aren't going to freak out until they come and go, holy crap, what's happened? Okay, and so, like Greg said, we understand that. And we also understand that there's a process, and once that process has got to its fruition, it has happened. But I would like to admonish or ask that you hone in on my question about and provide us with surety that as MCSD and a few other entities that have to be in that road for long periods of time, shutting down a lane, that there will be proper access. And as you vet this draft, that you make sure that's a priority. And I think you are thinking about that. I'm not saying you're not. Okay. But that's a huge deal. When we had a big deal here recently, that we were in the middle of doing stuff. It was a little impacting, not all the time, but at significant periods of time, it was a kind of a cluster, if you will.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I live in this community as well, and I know what's going on.
Twyla?
Well, I remember when we were meeting, and we had quite a few people come about the bike lanes and doing the green and trying to figure out how it would be more safe for people to cross Central Avenue, and even though those meetings were pretty well attended, there was still a lot of negativity that people just really didn't like that ugly green on the side. And then people who rode the bike said when it rains, the rainwater is all flowing in there, and they felt very unsafe riding in that. So sometimes, even though you have the best intentions and you think you have the best plan, it's not really the best when you've implemented it. And then I wanted to ask, I can't remember the fellow's name, I think it was Dan Burden?
Oh, Dan Burden, yes.
Burden. Did any of his ideas, when we met with him a couple of times, did any of his suggestions or ideas get put into the plan?
So, yes. So if you'll recall, when we did the road audit and the walking audit, the important things to do are one, for pedestrians, slow traffic, and two, shorten the distance that pedestrians have to travel to get across the road. So that's part of what is being proposed on Central, is there will still be signalized intersections. So that still functions to slow traffic. And then by reducing the number of lanes, it also reduces the amount of time that a pedestrian spends on the street.
I also just, to Director Mayo's point about people not agreeing with changes to Central Avenue, overwhelmingly during the 5-year draft ordinance process that we've started in 2019, the number one comment was people are driving way too fast on Central Avenue, and it feels unsafe for pedestrians and cyclists alike. And so that is why there was such a strong interest in having a traffic study and looking at trying to do something on Central Avenue that hopefully would accomplish some of the issues that our community expressed frustration with.
Pat?
I totally understand Director Ford's hesitance to have a public meeting at a MCMAC meeting on the EIR. But one thing I think the MCMAC does need to talk about, and not necessarily tonight, but maybe at our November board meeting, MCMAC meeting, is whether the MCMAC wants to write an official response to the EIR and craft something. And we're not meeting in December, so that would be the January MCMAC meeting. But I think we should decide at November whether we want to do that or not. And I'm not sure we can make that decision or not, but just throwing it out there.
Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi there. My name's Samantha Howard. I'm new to MCSD, and so I'm new to this conversation, so I'll apologize in advance if this question has been answered already. With the traffic studies of trying to slow down traffic on Central Avenue for pedestrians and bicyclists, will that traffic study also include the impact that the diversions will have to McKinleyville Avenue, where students are walking to and from school to Morris Elementary? As a parent, that's a very big concern for me.
Yeah, we thank you for the question. We did target McKinleyville Avenue and intersections along McKinleyville to be studied for that impact, as well as Railroad and Central and Murray, Hiller and Central and McKinleyville. So yeah, we're definitely looking at that corridor.
Okay, in terms of that corridor on McKinleyville Avenue, what impact did the improvements made by the Safe Routes to Schools, how is that going to weave into that?
Well, I think it should be found to be consistent with that. I mean, if anything, what we'll be looking at is if there are improvements that are needed to continue to facilitate pedestrian interactions at intersections primarily, especially where there's roundabouts that may be proposed. And the primary roundabout is at Hiller and McKinleyville. But other than that, it shouldn't have an impact to it. The struggle is going to be, is there will be more cars, but and there's a stop sign there at Bates and McKinleyville. There's not a stop sign at Railroad in McKinleyville, I don't think.
No, there's one at Hiller.
And there's a stop sign at Hiller, right. There may end up being a stop sign at McKinleyville and Railroad. And part of that is just slowing traffic.
Okay, thank you. Also, is there any late-breaking progress in punching McKinleyville through to school through Santos property?
So the short answer is no, but we do have the right-of-way for that. So if it comes down to it and that needs to be done, that can be done. What's that? By the county, or if it comes down to needing to develop a mitigation measure for this overall project, for this development, to acquire fees and funds, to put that in, that may be a mitigation measure. The Santos subdivision has been, I think, repurchased now. The map has been renewed, and so that it's an active map, it can be recorded and have the improvement plans done for that latter phase.
Okay, and I hesitate to ask this, but have you guys put a deadline on him doing the road infrastructure between that and the county?
That, unless that's a condition of the tentative map, that's really hard to do, and I don't think that's been done. And that's where the importance of the county actually having the road right-of-way becomes really important, because then if it does become something that really needs to be done, then it can be done. And I won't be put in too shameless of a plug, but that would be where an additional income source for road improvements would be really important if you were to vote in the next election.
Okay, thanks. Is there anyone else? Kevin?
This has obviously been a topic in MMAC that's been discussed for a few months now, maybe a year or two. One of my, initial concerns, obviously, with the road narrowing of Central Avenue, that's been a very hot topic that I've had discussed in the community. And to me, it's kind of a realization that to create that town center concept that Director Ford spoke of initially in his presentation, to have that gathering place, to get that sense of community that McKinleyville is missing. It's going to be a kind of a repatterning of people's behaviors. I live at the north end of town. I end up going south a lot, and just had to break myself of getting on Central Avenue and driving. I now take those arterials that I go out Murray, I go out and hit 101 and go that way. It's still, I found myself doing it the other day. I hit the four-way flashing stop there at Murray and Central and continued on and went, turned into the Redder parking lot and went back around the other way, because it's faster and it's less stressful to drive for me, because I don't have to go all the way through Central Avenue. So But it took, I mean, it took a period of time personally for me to repattern my traffic patterns, my behavior. And I think, you know, we're not going to get that gathering place, that sense of community, easing some of that traffic, alleviating some of those concerns of our other community members without, you know, us realizing if I'm going from the north end of town to Eureka, I just need to take the first arterial and shoot west and pick up the highway, and not add to that traffic flow that's going down Central. So again, I've made that comment before, but I think it's worth making again. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, is there anyone else? Or are we ready to move on? Okay, we shall move on to item C3. Discussion. Oh, is there any comments from the public? I'm so sorry. I know.
Okay, I'm just keeping you honest.
Just a real simple question. Have traffic studies been performed on these issues so far, or will they be performed as part of the EIR? That's my question.
Okay, would you care to answer that one?
So yes, we have done a traffic study and done an operational study of the area in McKinleyville that's primarily around the town center with the intersections that I identified earlier. We took traffic counts, identified what the existing traffic patterns are, and then have modeled the number of trips that would be generated by the build out of the town center, and then identified what that would do to the operational capacity of all of those streets and intersections. So yes, the short answer is there is a traffic analysis of that. That will be part of the EIR.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. It's so wonderful to see the MCMAC and MCSD doing these annual meetings to really bring that collaboration between the two real government groups here in McKinleyville, and I applaud you for that. Kevin said what I was going to come up here and say, so I won't go over it all in detail, but you know, doing these things on Central Avenue is going to shift patterns. And people will have choices. If you're going north of the town center, just get off on Murray, get on, get off on Murray, and that kind of stuff. But it's also true, as was mentioned, that it might shift traffic to McKinleyville Avenue. That's a very real concern. And so I'm hoping that as we, you know, go through this analysis with the EIR and actually finally implement things, that we look at things like, do we need speed humps on McKinleyville Avenue, like on Azalea Avenue? It really changed some of those speeding behaviors over there on Azalea. I constantly get requests from neighborhoods wanting more speed humps because they are efficient. They do work. They do slow down, you know, the fire trucks a small amount, but they have generally supported this as well. So I think we're going to be looking at a lot of shifts. But if we want to have a vibrant downtown town center, which was discussed, it is imperative that we try to slow that traffic down, even if we just get it to the speed limit, rather than what many people observe as 40 miles an hour and people just speeding through, as is the condition right now. That will go a long way towards creating this pedestrian-friendly environment. And when you think about the big picture and long-term, the idea of a vibrant town center is something that's going to increase retail business and local job opportunities. I think we're all aware of the fact that many of the current retail stores, they come and go. Part of that's us all shopping online. Some of it is the fact that, you know, there just has not been a really strong retail economy in McKinleyville, except for certain businesses. And so with the town center, with some traffic calming measures, with what's going on up at the airport, with the airport business park ultimately building out, and with the concept of a Vista Point Park where we have better access off the freeway into the Vista Point facility, that's going to draw people off the highway. They're then going to want to spend the night. They're going to want to come downtown and spend money. So these things are these big picture, long-term things that could absolutely have a positive benefit for the community, for retail business, local jobs, and things like that. So, you know, change is difficult, but I think if we look at that big picture and long-term, maybe we can understand kind of what's going on here. But I think you know, watching the MCMAC for the last 3 years and how there was such strong feelings about certain things in the beginning, and as the group continued to discuss them and talk about them, it's been my observation that there's been incredible support for a common ground approach to all of these things. So anyway, thank you for the time to speak. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, is there any other comments? Okay.
Sorry, I just have to make one comment, guys, that the traffic calming, the changes between those two parameters may be of significance to a goal, but I don't think it has anything to do with a lot of the stuff that people say. We don't want traffic limited coming into the shopping center. We want those people coming. Most people that come down come to Eureka Natural Foods, they come to Ramon's, they come to the post office, and we want that to continue. So as we develop this, there will be some people that will change their habits about where they go, but that's only the people that aren't active residents participating in the town center, coming to the post office, coming to Safeway, coming to Eureka Natural Foods. So we're not going to limit that traffic coming in, and as we develop more and we develop the town center housing, there's going to be more traffic. So I'm not 100% opposed to these concepts, but you've got to keep in mind that you're not going to limit the flow of people coming into town. That's counterintuitive of what we want. We want people coming into the town center. Anyway, just not to be counterproductive, I'm just saying those are concerns that, realities that I think we need to think about all the time, that's all.
Okay, thank you. We are 10 minutes out from this. Twyla, do you want to make a quick comment?
I just wanted a point of clarification. When the study was done, it was done not for what's here currently, correct? It's for when the low-income housing units, and I think that's going to be, 700 more people, and the new businesses that we hope come in someday. This took all of that into account, correct?
Through the chair. So yes, what we do is you model what's there today and use that to show the basic distribution of where trips are going. And then part of what the EIR did was evaluated, it's like we've got this mixed use development, it's likely to have this many residential units, this much commercial space, this much other space, and then looked at how many trips that would generate. And then, so using the dispersion modeling, I'm sorry if this gets geeky, but looking at that dispersion modeling, taking and then adding those additional trips to that, then that assigns the distribution of the new trips. And then it also looks at if you have constraints, like if the road becomes too narrow, it's going to force people to go off on a different way, and then how many of those people will then go down that road. So it is all about the cumulative impact of the build out of the town center. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Bonnie. You haven't spoken yet.
I just wanted to emphasize that one of the goals of the town center development is to bring people living there. Think about Life Plan Humboldt and the people living on top of our mixed-use businesses that may be developed. It is our hope that there will be a lot more walkers in the town center who are living in areas where they can walk to everything there. And so not just more cars, but more walkers, and we have to design for them if we want it to be a safe community for elders who may decide, I don't want to drive everywhere anymore, or, whoever however that gets developed. But I just want to make sure that we don't lose the pedestrians and our desire for encouraging more people to live down there in the town center area as we make these discussions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we are going to be moving along to item C3. This would be the discussion of the exploration of incorporation of McKinleyville. And this item will be presented by Kevin Jenkins.
Thank you. I think actually within your informational packet, your staff did an excellent job of summarizing the process to keep us back on schedule.
Okay, should I read that or?
Would you like to read that? Yes, please, Scott, thank you.
Okay, sure. Okay, the MMAC, the MCMAC, established McKinleyville Incorporation Exploration Subcommittee, the MCSD, in 2023 with the goal of providing a non-biased exploration of what it would take for McKinleyville to incorporate as a city. Since that time, the MCSD has been meeting monthly to attempt to gather cost and technical information to be used to educate the subcommittee and the public around incorporation. The MCSD has made important progress along these lines. The subcommittee has continued to work closely with Colette Sanchi, the Executive Director of Humboldt County Local Agency Formation Committee, or LAFCO, to understand the steps toward the process towards incorporation. Collaboration has also continued with Josh Zendner, Professor of Economics at Cal Poly Humboldt, for the gathering of the economic data related to the relationship between the county and McKinleyville and the pursuit of grant funding to assist in the preparation of an initial feasibility analysis. The initial feasibility analysis would include a more detailed analysis of costs and feasibility of an incorporated McKinleyville. The IFA would also be necessary to accompany an application for incorporation to be submitted to LAFCO. Obtaining funding for this analysis, whether through donation or grants, continues to be an ongoing task for the MCSD. The MCSD is in the beginning stages of conducting periodic surveys of the community to gain knowledge of what residents would like to see in an incorporated McKinleyville and to help assist in education around the incorporation process. The gathering of data to inform the IFA and surveying will continue into 2025. Staff recommends that the boards review the information provided, discuss, take public comment, and participate in the discussion. At this time, I'll open this topic up to the board and the committee.
Thank you, Director Bender. The only part I guess I would add to that is as we've researched this and been involved in this now, this has been a question that's been before the community as far back as the 70s. I was a child then. I know when I came into this community in the mid-90s, the Chamber of Commerce was involved in the conversation. So this is obviously not a new question that the community's been asking when it comes to incorporation. So I'm very proud of the work that the MCMAC and the subcommittee has done on bringing this forward. We've brought it to the point in the past of, yeah, it looks like it might be an okay idea, but we really can't get the actual data to know if it's going to be fiscally viable or not. I know Supervisor Sundberg, Supervisor Madrone has directed county staff to be able to gather the data for us. And one of the challenges we have run into is that going back over the years, the county has not really had a financial system in place to gather data specific to McKinleyville. So that's been the challenges that we're addressing. So some of that is being developed by modeling on what City of Arcata does, modeling on what the city of Fortuna does. And that's where Cal Poly Humboldt has done a great deal, and Professor Zedner has done a great job up there of being able to pull a lot of that information together for us and continues to do so. So I guess at this point, I'm kind of open to any questions anybody might have about how this process is proceeding.
Okay, thank you. I'll speak at once.
Mary?
Thanks, Kevin. There's a couple of items related to how we conduct our MEAS meetings. We kind of divided up into what's going on with the initial feasibility study and funding. We also talk about community engagement, and we talk about legislative efforts. So there's a few printouts of a survey that was recently put out. Some of the members of MEAS joined with the center, Cal Poly Humboldt. Who else was there, Maya?
Subcommittee for Active Transportation.
In the schools. So it was a group effort to put together a community survey. It's early in the process of just gathering input. So the MEAS committee helped build this survey. So there's a QR code back on the table, and you'll see that circulating in our community. And then also, we just have an active dialogue going on legislative issues to see if there's either a statewide or local option to surmount some of the hurdles that present themselves should the community choose to incorporate.
Thank you, Mary.
Thanks, Mary. Any other comments from the board or the committee? Any comments from staff? Comments from the general public, including those on Zoom? Okay, hearing none, we're back on time. Item C4, discussion of status of the McKinleyville Community Forest. This item will be presented by Parks and Rec Director Kristen Messmer.
Thank you. So those of you who have this in front of you see that I actually got the most to read out of everyone presenting tonight. So I'll try to get through this as quickly as possible. The district closed on the community forest land at the beginning of 2024. This was a huge accomplishment, but it was just the beginning of establishing a community forest, and now the real work begins. As these boards are aware, the district acquired 599 acres of community forest land from Green Diamond Resource Company. The acquisition was funded by a $3.8 million grant from the state of California Natural Resources Agency. The MCSD board agreed to open the land to recreational activities immediately after acquiring it, and staff has been running to catch up ever since. The second major accomplishment this spring was the establishment of the McKinleyville Community Forest Committee and drafting the rules and regulations regarding the forest. The Forest Committee consists of 2 MCSD board members, 4 MCSD staff members, a MMAC representative, a park representative, and 9 McKinleyville community members. Committee meetings are held on the 3rd Tuesday of each month right here at Azalea Hall at 5:30. The subcommittee has also now established two subcommittees, a forest management plan and funding/budget subcommittee, and a trails infrastructure cleanup and security subcommittee, lovingly referred to as TICS. The Forest Management Plan Subcommittee meets the first Tuesday of each month at 4:30 at the district office, and the TICS Subcommittee meets the 4th Tuesday of each month at 5 o'clock at the district office. In addition, the staff has completed or is currently working on the following 6 tasks. So these all kind of give a brief on county road signs. So we have installed 35-mile-per-hour road signs on Murray Road, as well as signs that indicate that you're approaching the community forest in conjunction with Humboldt County Public Works. Parking lot grading. The upper parking lot on Murray Road has been graded a little bit and gravel's placed down. It's totally a temporary fix until more funding will allow for us to actually put in a parking lot. There is now, hopefully by the end of this week, a gate that will open each morning at 7:30 and close at sunset. Vehicles that are stuck inside the parking lot at that time will be able to pull over a sensor and be able to get out. There is still an internal gate at the fork of the two logging roads that will stay up until we install 2 gates further, so to prevent people from driving on through the parking lot and onto the either community forest property or Green Diamond's property on those logging roads. Trail maps. Staff has located the main trails and transferred them onto a map. We have a bunch printed here. That printed version of the map also has a QR code that gets you to an interactive map that was also created. Also on that map is a QR code. If you're out in the forest and you come across an issue, you can use that QR code to report it directly to MCSD staff. Signage. We have also created "You Are Here" signs and installed, I think there's 11 maybe now. There's definitely more than 10. We keep finding new points to put these "You Are Here" signs. Also, no camping, no motorized vehicles. Other rules signs have also been installed at various places throughout. A lot of them are temporary right now in the sense that they are printed laminated as we will start to purchase more permanent signs. Grants. There's, I guess this one I probably should just read. MCSD is working with Green Diamond and the Humboldt County Resource Conservation District on a vegetation treatment project, or CalVPT grant, for Green Diamond and community forest land. A technical assistance grant was obtained from CAL FIRE to have Ascent, a consulting firm, assist with the development of the project-specific assessment, or PSA. The PSA will then be used to develop the CEQA documents. HCRD and MCSD will be the lead agency for CEQA. Green Diamond and MCSD are also pursuing a CAL FIRE Forest Health grant to implement the VTP, which will consist of establishing fire breaks on the boundaries of the forest and thinning vegetation at points within the forest. MCSD is also working with BBW and Associates to obtain a California Forest Improvement Project grant to help fund the completion of the forest management plan. And the third one, MCSD is also pursuing a technical assistance grant from the North Coast Resource Partnership to obtain a regional forest and fire capacity grant to complete the forest management plan. And the sixth item, helipad and fire access. Green Diamond Resource Company has established a helipad area, so we will work with them on developing that as necessary. And we've also provided maps to Arcata Fire District staff, and they've been able to take out their side-by-side and get from one end of the forest to the other. And the recommendation, staff recommend the MCSD board and the MMAC review the information, listen to this presentation I just delivered, discuss, take public comment, and take public comment on the McKinleyville Community Forest Progress Update.
Okay, thank you. And does the board have any questions? The committee have any questions? Maya?
Thank you, Kristen. Has the Humboldt County Sheriffs also had the opportunity to come out in their side-by-side and recon the area? That would also be good for potential search and rescue efforts.
They haven't reached out to us to ask for that, but it's definitely, they also have been out there with some of the vehicles and things that have gotten stuck. So we are we do have a working relationship with them as well, though, but they haven't specifically asked like Arcata Fire did.
Okay, I'll probably mention this to the special services and have them coordinate with you.
Yes.
So 2 quick questions, and we could deal with it at a Forest Committee meeting if so. One, I'm wondering, as Mr. Bender had an accident, and we've had a couple other accidents out there, do we have a concept of our cell phone coverage for the whole area, one? And two, on the heliport, is that a joint between us and Green Diamond? I mean, is it going to be in a position that services both of our properties, or, and so that's the question.
I'll take a first stab at it, and then Pat can fill in. So yes, the helipad area would be one that would service their portion that they have retained as well as ours. And then the cell phone, that would probably be something great to take to the committees, because I don't know.
Okay. Kevin?
Thank you. I know living up Norton Road, it's pretty much during the week, certainly every weekend, are the motorcycles that are going up and crossing through the Beaupre Heights and over. I don't even know what a solution to that problem might be, but is it been a reduction in some of the motorcycle traffic that's crossed through that area? Or is that just going to be a challenge that's just going to have to be dealt with as this whole process moves forward?
That is, when you come up with a solution, Kevin, you come see me.
Right. That'd be my answer. Why?
As a member of the Community Forest Advisory Committee, it is my belief that it is going to be a culture shift that I think is going to have to emerge from the various user groups, and I think it's just going to take a while.
Just to throw it out there, would it be a solution to perhaps give them someplace else to ride?
Yeah. That's a great idea.
So I guess I'll make a quick comment on it. Immediately, since I've been working with the OHV community for many years, looking for a facility, the Barnum properties, we thought we were going to have a facility out there, and then they made a deal with BLM to make that mini wilderness area that is exceptional and a good deal, and we understand that. So the minute everybody that rides heard about this, I started getting hundreds of phone, I mean, literally hundreds. And I wasn't very popular explaining to them that there's not going to be any motorcycle riding on this facility. First of all, our contract, how we bought it, excludes that explicitly. Okay. And although it's been an activity that has been an illegal and ongoing activity and probably is going to continue, hopefully less and less, it is something we're going to have to work on, and we will battle it.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with that. And I also have to agree that because of the cultural shift that was mentioned, it will be reduced down. At least it will be reduced. Okay, take, for example, the Arcata Community Forest. 2 generations ago, that used to be a motorcycle riding area. If y'all know Tim Finnegan, his brother, Brock Zolo, all those old Arcata boys who used to ride bikes, that was their territory, and that's what they did. Now you hardly ever see any dirt bikes up there. So, and it just happened by just attrition.
Probably consequences too.
Well, they didn't always have a ranger up there. And they would play hide and seek from the APD. The stories are rife.
Scott, I need to throw out, and probably you all know, but we're dealing with also the issue of e-bikes and what e-bikes are legal and not legal. And so that's another ongoing issue that we're working on and part of the equation.
Okay.
I was just wondering, noticed on emails all the different committees that you're looking for volunteers for, and I was wondering if you are getting the volunteers you need. Has there been good community response to that?
So the forest management, or the Community Forest Committee, is fully formed. We do have one open seat we're waiting for the Wiyot tribe to appoint someone that they would like to fill that seat. That being said, the subcommittees, the TICS subcommittee is currently pending 5. We're kind of in between the forest management nominating 5 to have the MCSD board appoint at their next board meeting. So I can't say that those 5 seats are going to be filled, but 7 people applied and the committee recommended 5 to fill the 5 seats. The forest management plan and funding/budget subcommittee has a potential 5 open seats for members of the public as well, of which we received 0 applications.
Awesome. Okay. Yes, Greg.
Yeah. I love that the Trails, the acronym for the Trails Subcommittee is TICS, because if you go up there enough, you'll get ticks.
You will. Especially down by Mill Creek. Okay. Are there any comments from the general public?
I have not been to the community forest personally, but I have friends that hike there on a regular basis, and I've heard that there are encampments of homeless people there, and I was just wondering if that has come to anybody's attention, and if so, how you plan to address it.
Very much like the other issues that have been ongoing for years, that is an ongoing issue that we are tackling as we get identified of where they're at. So yes, we are aware, and we'll take one day at a time with that problem, as well as with the motorcycles and all of the other fun things that the public likes to do that is illegal.
Yeah, and as far as the homeless community that live up there, there are some community members who, very, very quietly do the work and take the trash out up there. And there are a few of us who know who they are, and we thank them from the bottom of our hearts. It's it's a very, very important job, and these people have been doing it for an awful long time. Are there any other comments before we move on?
Chairman Bender, before we move on, can you beg your indulgence to step back to C3? I omitted a very important part of my discussion, which was our subcommittee does not exist without our community members. And I did want to take the opportunity to address Tom Boyer, who's been one of our very active community members. He's participated. He works really hard to keep me on track and give me timelines that I have to hold to. He has just noticed us in the last couple of days that he's going to step down from that position. So I did want to take this public opportunity to show my appreciation of all of his efforts on our subcommittee, and who's helped us out with our incorporation study process.
Wow, okay.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, thanks for your work, Tom. Do you have anything to say?
Not much. I really enjoyed working with the subcommittee and attending the MCMAC meetings as well. When we moved to McKinleyville, and this is the 11th anniversary of our 11th year here. When I decided that our family should get more involved with the community, I suggested to my wife that she should do it because she had been on the school board in Sunnyvale for 12 years. And she said, that was my thing and now it's your thing. So Unfortunately, the doctors have put a priority on my time, and so I'm going to have to step back. I still intend to be coming to the meetings, and Kevin, I'm sure, will give me some tasks to work on. I'll still do those, but they'll be less concerned with the timelines, so you have to accommodate that for me. And I appreciate everything that this committee are doing. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you for your service, sir. Okay. Moving along to item C. Are there any other comments from the members of the public, including those on Zoom? Seeing none, we'll move along to item C5, discussion of bringing McKinleyville's voice to county issues. As the MMAC and the MCSD board are aware, McKinleyville is the third largest community in Humboldt County. With a population of roughly 17,000, McKinleyville makes up over 12% of the county's population. McKinleyville is an unincorporated census-designated place, and many public services are under the county's purview: building and planning, roads, stormwater management, law enforcement, etc. Considering large incoming projects that will have countywide implications, such as offshore wind, Nordic Aqua Farms, Cal Poly Humboldt, etc., a rapidly changing economy, and McKinleyville-specific issues involving county oversight, as in consideration of incorporation, McKinleyville Town Center, traffic circulation, etc., it is critical that the McKinleyville community be heard at the county level. What role can the McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee and the McKinleyville Community Services District Board play together to ensure McKinleyville's voice is heard? It is recommended that the MCSD Board of Directors and the members of the MMAC engage in a discussion on bringing McKinleyville's voice to county issues. This item has been scheduled for a length of 15 minutes. Okay, who would like to start the discussion?
May not take 15, but I would say that it's still something I hear of from customers and from community members, addressing the needs of the city of McKinleyville, and then having to have sometimes an awkward conversation that while we have some pretty good governance, that the Municipal Services District does a fantastic job within its preview. We're not a city. And, you know, that's the district office. Go pay your water bill there, but there's no mayor there. So, you know, that's been part of the conversation in this community for a while. And I appreciate that the Services District has, over the years, gone far above and beyond the community forest speaks to it, of being more than just a provider of water and sewer. So we've been fortunate to have the district formed in our community, and I wish the district had the ability to do more within the guidelines that it's been provided. So I know that as the coordination we've had at the MMAC, speaking as the vice chair, the constant presence of the MCSD members and director on our committee has been invaluable as we've moved forward trying to provide guidance to the county. And I think we only need to continue to do more. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, as most are aware, we're allowed to do almost everything the city can do if the voters want us to and the voters are willing to pay for it, save for land use planning. And so I guess this would be a better discussion to be had once we are closer to actual incorporation as to how we can better work together as a potential incorporated city along with the district. We'd likely be operating, at least in my mind, kind of the way Arcata Fire District operates within the city of Arcata. Why?
I'd like to thank the McKinleyville Community Services District for leveraging resources that have allowed MCMAC to be, I think, a lot more effective and have greater transparency and community reach than we have before. And so I think this partnership, and along with the support of Supervisor Madrone, has really allowed us to expand our services and the exchange of information and ideas with our community. So thank you for this partnership.
Thanks for your comment. I also agree that being partners with MMAC does give McKinleyville a lot larger voice at the county level simply by being there. And simply by having Supervisor Madrone attend our meetings faithfully as well as yours. Tom? Oh. Wally?
I just wanted to thank you for meeting with the representative candidate, whose name is escaping me right now, but I remember reading about it, as MCSD board. I'm also on the League of Women Voters and was working the debate between those two. And he said, that was a very enlightening meeting for me to understand the issues related to unincorporated areas. And so your willingness to meet with him made an impact on his thinking, and I appreciate that.
Chris Rogers.
That's it. Yeah.
He's going to be our assemblyman who's better known than him.
Yeah.
It's the
Okay.
I would have gotten it in 2 minutes. But.
Okay. Go ahead, Tom.
Bonnie, I can never remember anybody's name. How that came to my mind is totally beyond me.
So I really appreciate Supervisor Madrone showing up at these meetings, but he has 1/5 of the decisions that are made for McKinleyville. So I would recommend that the Board of Supervisors every once in a while show up here en masse, and maybe even have a supervisors meeting here in McKinleyville to actually get some hands-on experience of what we're going through.
Okay, thank you. Okay. If there are no other comments, there are comments from the public anymore? Okay. No one on Zoom? I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
We're out. Thanks for coming, people.
Can I get your signature on Kevin's? Thank you.
Oh, you gotta leave.